Imagine getting the opportunity of a lifetime, a full scholarship to study abroad, only to have your partner propose marriage with one condition: you have to give up your dreams. This is exactly what happened to our storyteller, and her story exposes a darker truth about how love can sometimes become a weapon against our ambitions. That moment when the path to personal fulfillment suddenly collides with the expectations of someone you love. Today's story delves deep into a situation that countless women have faced throughout history: the impossible choice between romantic love and personal ambition. Picture this. You've just received news that could completely transform your life. A prestigious scholarship that promises escape from a soul-crushing job and opens doors to opportunities you've only dreamed about. Then, in what should be a moment of pure joy, your partner drops to one knee with a ring and an ultimatum that turns your world upside down. This isn't just a story about a proposal gone wrong. It's a powerful examination of how love can sometimes become a cage, and how the people closest to us might use our deepest emotions as leverage against our dreams. For our storyteller, a 30-year-old woman caught between her boyfriend's demands and her own aspirations, this moment would become a turning point that would force her to question everything: the nature of true love, the price of personal growth, and whether sacrifice in the name of relationship is really worth the cost. As we explore her journey, I want you to think about your own life. Have you ever had to choose between keeping someone happy and staying true to yourself? Have you felt the weight of others' expectations crushing your own dreams? Because this story might just help you recognize patterns you've been too close to see and give you the courage to make choices that honor both your heart and your ambitions. Let's dive into this compelling tale that challenges our understanding of love, commitment, and the sometimes painful path to self-actualization. Imagine spending years in a job that slowly drains your spirit, where each day feels like you're trading pieces of your soul for a paycheck. This was our storyteller's reality, working in a high-pressure corporate environment that demanded everything while giving little in return. Her daily routine was a grueling cycle of overtime, unrealistic deadlines, and a toxic workplace culture that left her physically exhausted and emotionally depleted. But beneath the surface of her compliance, a spark of hope kept her going. For months, she'd been secretly staying up late, crafting application essays, gathering recommendations, and meticulously researching international programs. Each application was a whispered prayer for escape, a chance at redemption from the career path that felt increasingly like a prison sentence. Then came the email that changed everything: a full scholarship to one of Europe's most prestigious universities, not just tuition, but comprehensive funding that would cover housing, living expenses, and even travel costs. The program offered exactly what she'd been dreaming of: a chance to study sustainable business practices, focusing on emerging markets and social entrepreneurship. This wasn't just an education. It was an opportunity to reinvent herself completely, to step into a role where she could make a real difference in the world. The moment she read the acceptance letter, sitting alone in her apartment after another exhausting day at work, she broke down in tears. Years of suppressed hopes and dreams came flooding out as she imagined the possibilities ahead: studying in historic buildings, collaborating with international students, and finally pursuing work that aligned with her values. The program would begin the following year, giving her time to prepare for this monumental life transition. She started creating vision boards, researching her future home city, and connecting with other international students online. For the first time in years, she felt truly alive, filled with purpose and possibility. The scholarship represented more than just education. It was freedom, self-discovery, and a chance to prove to herself that it's never too late to change your life's direction. The moment she shared her scholarship news with her boyfriend of 3 years, something shifted in their relationship, a subtle but unmistakable change that would soon reveal itself in dramatic fashion. His initial reaction was telling. Instead of sharing her joy, he became withdrawn, his responses clipped and distant. For days, he barely engaged with her excitement, changing the subject whenever she mentioned the scholarship or her plans for the future. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, he orchestrated what appeared to be the perfect romantic evening. He chose her favorite restaurant, arranged for their special song to be playing, and created an atmosphere that any woman would dream of for a proposal. The setting was meticulously planned, soft candlelight, scattered rose petals, and even a photographer hidden nearby to capture the moment. But as he dropped to one knee and opened the velvet box, his words revealed the true nature of this elaborately staged scene. This wasn't just a proposal, it was an ultimatum dressed in romance's clothing. His voice, though gentle, carried an unmistakable edge as he explained his conditions. Accepting the ring meant declining the scholarship. He spoke about commitment, about building their life together, about how marriage should take precedence over education. He painted a picture of their future, one that conspicuously kept her firmly in place in their current city, in her current job. The way he framed it was masterful in its manipulation. If you really love me, you'll choose us over this temporary adventure. We can't build a strong marriage with you on another continent. I'm offering you a lifetime of love. Isn't that worth more than a degree? Each word was carefully chosen to maximize guilt and minimize her dreams. The hidden photographer continued snapping photos, capturing what looked like a romantic milestone, but was actually a moment of profound manipulation. As she stood there, ring box open before her, she felt the walls closing in. The restaurant's romantic ambiance suddenly felt suffocating, the candlelight casting shadows that seemed to dance with warning. This was supposed to be one of the happiest moments of her life, but instead, she felt trapped in an emotional cage, with the key being dangled just out of reach. Let's break down the psychological manipulation at play here. First, the boyfriend weaponized a marriage proposal, something that should represent love and support, turning it into an ultimatum. Then, he systematically attacked her self-worth through guilt trips, gaslighting, and social pressure. This isn't just emotional confusion, it's a textbook case of coercive control. That would test every belief she held about love, commitment, and self-worth. Her mind became a battlefield where logic and emotion waged constant war. During sleepless nights, she would replay every moment of their 3-year relationship, searching for signs she might have missed, wondering if love should feel this heavy. The weight of the decision manifested physically. She lost her appetite, developed anxiety-induced insomnia, and found herself crying at random moments throughout the day. Her boyfriend's behavior intensified the turmoil. What started as subtle guilt trips evolved into more overt manipulation. He began sending her articles about failed long-distance relationships and stories of people who regretted choosing career over love. His texts alternated between loving declarations and passive-aggressive jabs about her selfishness. He enlisted their mutual friends to talk sense into her, creating a network of pressure that made her feel increasingly isolated. The psychological toll was immense. She started questioning her own judgment. Was she being unreasonable? Was it selfish to prioritize education over a relationship? Should she be grateful that someone loved her enough to want to marry her? These doubts would spiral until she could barely recognize her own thoughts from the ones he'd planted. Her once exciting scholarship acceptance letter, proudly displayed on her refrigerator, now felt like a source of shame rather than joy. She found herself hiding it whenever he came over, a small but significant gesture that spoke volumes about the dynamic their relationship had developed. The internal conflict affected every aspect of her life. At work, she couldn't focus, making mistakes that reinforced her desire to escape her current career. With friends, she became withdrawn, afraid of judgment regardless of which path she was considering. Even simple decisions became overwhelming as she lost trust in her own instincts. The proposal had created a fork in her life's path, and standing at this crossroads was paralyzing. Each option seemed to require sacrificing an essential part of herself, her relationship or her dreams, her present or her future, security or growth. As our storyteller began examining her relationship through a new lens, a disturbing pattern emerged, one that had been present all along, but carefully disguised as love and protection. She remembered the time she was offered a promotion that would have involved quarterly business trips. Her boyfriend's response wasn't outright opposition, but rather a careful campaign of concern. "I worry about your safety traveling alone. Long distance is so hard on relationships. Wouldn't you rather find something local?" She declined the promotion, believing she was choosing relationship stability. Then there were the subtle ways he'd interfere with her friendships. He'd text constantly when she was out with friends, saying he missed her or wasn't feeling well. He'd make slight digs about her friends' lifestyles or suggest they were bad influences. Over time, she found herself seeing friends less frequently, often choosing to stay in with him to avoid the drama. His control extended to her appearance, too. While he never directly criticized how she looked, he'd make helpful suggestions about her clothes, particularly when she dressed up for work or social events. "You look prettier in softer colors," or "that style isn't really you." Comments that seemed caring, but slowly chipped away at her confidence. The proposal situation had finally illuminated these patterns she'd been too close to see. Looking back, she recognized how he'd systematically worked to make her more dependent on him, more isolated, and less confident in her own decisions. Even her current job, which she found so draining, had been influenced by his suggestions to stay in a stable position rather than pursue riskier but more fulfilling opportunities. Friends and family, now that she was finally opening up, shared their own observations. Her sister admitted she'd been worried for months, noticing how our storyteller had become less outspoken, less sure of herself. A close friend revealed she'd kept a list of concerning behaviors, but hadn't known how to bring them up. Her mother confessed to recognizing patterns similar to those in her own first marriage, which she'd eventually left due to emotional abuse. These revelations were both validating and frightening. They confirmed she wasn't overreacting or imagining things, but they also forced her to confront the reality that the relationship she'd thought was loving and supportive had actually been slowly dimming her light, one small control at a time. When she finally gathered the courage to share her story online, the response was both overwhelming and enlightening. Within hours, hundreds of comments flooded in, creating a tapestry of shared experiences and hard-won wisdom. Many women came forward with their own stories of choosing between education and relationships. One woman described giving up a medical school acceptance to marry her college boyfriend, only to face bitter divorce 10 years later when he left her for someone else. Another shared how she chose her fellowship over her fiancé's ultimatum and went on to build a fulfilling life that eventually included a partner who celebrated her ambitions. Here are the critical warning signs everyone should watch for in their relationships. 1. Your partner dismisses your goals as unnecessary or dangerous. 2. They use major life events like proposals as leverage. 3. They isolate you from support systems. 4. They frame their control as protection or love. 5. They make you question your own judgment. If you recognize these patterns, remember, healthy love empowers growth, it doesn't restrict it. In identifying the manipulation tactics at play, they pointed out how the public proposal was a form of social pressure, making it harder for her to say no. They noted how his timing, waiting until after the scholarship news, revealed his proposal as a reactive attempt to maintain control rather than a genuine celebration of their relationship. Mental health professionals in the community offered valuable perspectives on emotional manipulation and controlling behavior. They explained how abusive patterns often escalate after major commitments like marriage, warning that his current behavior was likely just a preview of greater control to come. The community also provided practical advice for protecting herself. They recommended securing important documents, being careful with joint finances, and having a safety plan in case the situation escalated. Many urged her to confide in trusted friends and family, emphasizing the importance of having a support system independent of her boyfriend. Perhaps most importantly, the responses helped normalize her feelings of confusion and guilt. Countless others shared how they'd questioned their own judgment in similar situations, how they'd felt selfish for prioritizing their dreams, and how they'd eventually realized that true love supports growth rather than stifling it. The collective wisdom of these voices helped her see that her intuition about the situation wasn't wrong. She wasn't being selfish for wanting to pursue this opportunity, and her boyfriend's behavior wasn't normal or acceptable. The community became a mirror, reflecting back the reality of her situation with clarity and compassion. After weeks of intense soul-searching and with the strength drawn from countless supportive voices, our storyteller finally reached her decision. The moment of clarity came not in a dramatic epiphany, but in a quiet morning as she sat looking at both the scholarship acceptance letter and the engagement ring. She realized that any love requiring her to become smaller was not love at all. It was possession disguised as affection. With trembling hands but resolute heart, she composed a letter to her boyfriend, explaining her decision to choose her education and, more importantly, herself. His reaction to her choice proved more revealing than any red flag that had come before. The mask of caring concern fell away completely, replaced by anger, emotional manipulation, and attempts to turn their social circle against her. He launched a campaign of guilt and shame, alternating between angry accusations and tearful pleas for reconciliation. But something had shifted within her. Each manipulative attempt only confirmed she'd made the right choice. The process of disentangling herself from the relationship was challenging, but transformative. She discovered strength she didn't know she possessed as she stood firm against the emotional storms. Friends she thought she'd lost reconnected, offering support and sharing their own stories of breaking free from controlling relationships. As she began preparing for her journey abroad, she experienced an unexpected mix of emotions. Grief for the relationship she'd hoped to have, relief at escaping the one she actually had, and growing excitement about her future. Her story resonated deeply within the online community, inspiring others to examine their own relationships and stand firm in their right to pursue their dreams. She received messages from women worldwide who found courage in her example to make their own difficult choices. The experience taught her crucial lessons about love, self-worth, and the importance of maintaining one's identity within a relationship. She learned that true partnership should multiply your possibilities, not divide them. That love should be a launching pad for growth, not a cage to contain it. And perhaps most importantly, that sometimes the hardest choices, the ones that feel like they might break us, are exactly the ones that help us become who we're meant to be. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to choose between someone's expectations and your own dreams? What red flags from this story resonate with your experiences? Share your story in the comments. Your insight could help someone else recognize these patterns before it's too late. And remember, choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. As she began her life abroad, she carried with her not just dreams of education, but also a profound understanding that choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's essential.